Hey peeps, welcome to the video. Just a quick disclaimer, this is a very opinion heavy video. I do end up calling quite a few Pokemon weird. I kind of had to do it, I couldn't really avoid it, the word just, it's easy to understand. So, apologies. I do want to request that you please keep in mind, this video is just for fun. Don't get too caught up in it. But yeah, enjoy the video. Hey peeps, it's Tripl-L, and today I'm here to talk to you about something Pokemon related. Something related to the recent batch of new Pokemon Sun and Moon Pokemon. You know, it's a topic I've been seeing floating around in YouTube ever since those 7 were kind of introduced all in one go. I'm talking about the bunch with Drampa, the guy that I honestly think is blind, Charge-a-Bug, the bug cubic thing that makes me think it's a Digimon because of the digital eyes, Togedemaru, a very round Pikachu, and freaking Bruxish, man, like Bruxish. It has so many things going on, and if you see the title of this video, you know this is where we're gonna end up talking about. But no, everyone. So there was this topic floating around and it's asking or describing these new Pokemon as being weird. And I thought to myself, are they weird? And then yeah, I looked back at my trusty handy dandy mental notebook and remembered, I thought these Pokemon were fake. I thought they were so fake. Back when they first popped up on Cerebi that night, I was half tempted to make a video saying, yeah, you know, I'm not really feeling this. The quality of the pictures was pretty sketchy. They were looked too much. It was too much at the time. I couldn't accept that these were new Pokemon. But as we found out, literally within 8 hours of the time that the pictures came up, they were real and the world embraced them. But at the end of the day, it doesn't take away from the fact that I thought they were fake. What does that say about Game Freak? Well, it says that Game Freak isn't afraid to be weird. Or saying that Game Freak's okay, you know what? Qualifying it with weird is going to be pretty divisive since this video is talking about why people might think they're weird. And yeah, you know, I just want to say on a fundamental level, Pokemon has always been weird. I mean, really, when you think about it, yeah, Pokemon naturally are weird. Pikachu is weird, man. It's a mouse that can shock you in the bad way. Anyway, no, I'm digressing. This video, I'm really going to be talking about this concept of what is a weird Pokemon, or when is a Pokemon too weird, and I am going to be focusing on Bruxish because this guy has a lot of the elements that people would think, oh my god, this is a really weird Pokemon. But what I'm going to center this discussion around is one important aspect that really applies in all aspects of life. Well, that was a really bad line there, but it's an important aspect, and it is familiarity. So peeps, in this conversation, I'm going to structure this. I'm going to build up a little bit of a background, a little bit of an argument of why familiarity is so important when it comes to people's perceptions. Now, before I actually get started, I do want to say Pokemon is no stranger to weird designs. Weird designs have been there since the beginning of Pokemon. And this is going to be really tough to describe because we're talking about contexts here. So first off, let's establish Pokemon are weird when compared to the natural world. That's just fact of the matter. Within the Pokemon brand, however, there are some designs that sometimes just do not work. Like so, these guys that I'm showing on screen are typically what people would consider weird Pokemon designs just because they have some elements that sometimes just don't fully jive really well in people's minds. So I just want to put that out there. There is nothing weird about the fact that there are weird Pokemon designs this time around in Pokemon Sun and Moon. It was going to happen. It's always been there. But that being said, let's actually talk about why people might think that these Pokemon are very weird compared to all the other weirdos. And because let's face it, there's no way that these guys are more weird than Jinx. No, man. Maybe Bruxish, but otherwise, no. But why might someone feel more strongly about the fact that these guys are super weird compared to Jinx? Well, it goes back to familiarity. See, because the weirdness of these Pokemon designs have been around so much, like the old style, all the Gen 1 to I'll say 5. Gen 1 to Gen 5 Pokemon, they've been around for a while, people got accustomed to it, they became familiar with it. Those Pokemon just cannot incite that much of a reaction in a person because they are something that's already been experienced before, they are a stimulus that's already happened before. When it comes to familiarity, what it ultimately ends up doing is dulling the kind of reaction that you get from these Pokemon. And I'm really taking this in a pretty far direction, but I want you guys all to understand, I did do my research. There is something called the exposure effect, or just in general what familiarity does to a person. When you're exposed to something over and over, it tends, and I'm saying it tends because it's not something that applies to everyone. This is full-on research paper terms. There's usually a tendency that people will come to accept whatever it is that they're being exposed to. So if someone was exposed to, say, a face over the course of 5 weeks, maybe at the end of the 5 weeks they might say, yeah, this face is a bit more attractive than when they said it was butt ugly at the beginning of I guess the testing period. So what I'm ultimately trying to say is familiarity goes a long way in shaping people's perceptions of what is weird. So when we come back to Pokemon, and I'm using Bruxish because Bruxish has a lot of things that we can use to establish why people might think it's weird, because in the context of Pokemon, we have a lot of fish Pokemon. Naturally, over time, we've developed this kind of concept of what we consider a fish Pokemon to be. It's just a background concept that's in everyone's heads if they play Pokemon. This is just what they will default to when they think of a fish Pokemon. So when you compare Bruxish to all the other fish Pokemon that we have, like so in the picture, we can pull some pretty interesting comparisons and, you know, contrast what's so different about these fish Pokemon. Like I was saying, the fish Pokemon we are used to effectively form this sort of baseline. If we look at Bruxish, we can see that it retains some elements of what makes a fish Pokemon. You know, aside from the general shape, the fact that it's a fish, it has the lips. It has a puffed up lips, and we see this also in Goldeen, Magikarp, Qwilfish, Feebas. But Bruxish takes it one step further by making these lips more pronounced, more stylized. It may actually cause people to be reminded of Jinx, which is not something good for Bruxish. Regardless, Bruxish's lips, even though they are an element that other fish Pokemon have, are so much more pronounced that it really bucks the trend. So right there, it's already standing out in terms of fish Pokemon that have puffy lips. Then let's look at Bruxish's color. This is really the most obvious distinction. Really, it has 4 main colors, not counting the white of its teeth or the white of its eyes. The only ones who can really match it in terms of vibrant colors, or at least the quantity of vibrant colors, are Magikarp, Carvanha, and Basculin. But even then, Bruxish has something that just skyrockets it past all the other fish Pokemon, and that's how stylized, how exotic, how flamboyant the colors are used. Look at Bruxish's body, man, like that's just, it's asking for attention. So much more flamboyant. So that's another thing that separates Bruxish from the idea of a fish Pokemon. Then you can look and make an argument for its more human-like elements. The eyelash flourish, the stylized lips, these are elements that are foreign to the already accepted fish Pokemon, and heck, they're elements that people don't usually like to see in their Pokemon. Again, we're bringing up the similarity to Jinx here. The incorporation of human elements might throw people back to Jinx, and generally having a human element in a Pokemon like this, having Bruxish have those lips and the eyelash that makes it look like it's just trying to get your attention, like it's trying to just like do horrible things to you in a back alley underwater, it's not a very good kind of thing to have. But that's only if you are one of the people that found human elements in Pokemon weird. I know I just went off on the whole tangent that usually people don't like those elements, but hey, people get used to it. So really what it comes back down to, and what I want you guys to leave this video thinking is it bad to have weird Pokemon designs? And what makes a Pokemon design weird? Really, it's just when it comes back to how familiar is the design to what you perceive as a Pokemon. Bruxish, as we see, is not very familiar in terms of the concept of a fish Pokemon, but it's still very creative, and it still kind of calls back to what Game Freak has always done with their Pokemon. Is sometimes they'll be based on real life animals, and the fish that Bruxish might be based on, it's got some color, it's got the shape down for sure. It's not as crazy as Bruxish, it doesn't have a crazy sea anemone growing on its head, but hey, you know, artistic liberties, artistic freedoms, that's why we have them. These are the points I'm going to point out for you guys. It's all about the familiarity. If people are not familiar with something, if there is not some kind of construct or some kind of concept in their mind that they can compare something to, you'll either get someone who just will completely shove it away because they just, you know, it's just different, or you'll have someone who likes the exotic thing, although there are cases where you'll have a situation where it's just too weird and there's just no reconciling that, and that's totally fair too. It's people's perceptions. You can't really control what they have established in their mind when they're setting up their weird criteria. Overall, I do want to say, for me, when I saw Bruxish, because of all these things going on in Bruxish, I thought it was over-designed. That's why I thought it might not be a real Pokemon, because it felt like they were trying too hard. But hey, Game Freak pulled a fast one on me. Like they got me good. You know, we got a really over-designed fish Pokemon. Is it bad that it's over-designed? Nah, man, it's just something to get used to. It's just something to become familiar with. It's just a new trend that's being started. And you know what? I'm all for having weird designs, because at the end of the day, like I said before, that's what Pokemon's about. It's weird. Naturally, they're going to be weird. I actually think when we get like a really boring looking Pokemon, you know, it's like it's a safe bet because people are going to definitely like it because people have already good concepts. Whatever that Pokemon was based on, people must already have really nice concepts of it. That's why you end up having these situations where the owl Pokemon is so quickly adored. And you have people saying that they'll pick the owl just because their favorite animal is an owl. They already have that baseline familiarity set on what's an owl. And a Pokemon like Rowlet kind of satisfies that while adding a nice little bow tie. So yeah, peeps, that's what you can leave this video with. Nothing wrong with having weird Pokemon designs. If there is a weird Pokemon design, sometimes it may just be because people aren't familiar with it, and it may just be starting a whole new trend. There's nothing wrong with it being over designed, it's just another thing to get used to. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me, peeps. This is just a quick little video talking about why someone could see a Pokemon as weird. And I really encourage you to take this idea and compare it to other Pokemon that you might find weird. Find the Pokemon that you can kind of compare this weird Pokemon to and see what it does differently and see if that's why it's just jarring to you. Anyway, peeps, I hope you enjoyed the video. Tell me what Pokemon you think are weird. Tell me why you think they might be weird to you. And yeah, let's leave it there. Have a good time, peeps.